Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Teacher Supporting Teachers. Today we're talking about Seesaw, our collaborama with Stacy Hunter and Valerie Thorpe, focusing on some ideas to use Seesaw for math instruction for our older kids. There's so much we can do with Seesaw. I encouraged yesterday's group was math for TK to 3. I encouraged them to check out today's resources. I'm encouraging you guys to check out the early ones too, because I think there's a lot of crossover just adjusting for your content. So we're going to start off with Stacy Hunter. Stacy presented in a collaborama a couple weeks ago, and so we had her come back to tell us about some math ideas using Seesaw. Stacy, take it away.
Right, so I have a few ideas for you. I will go ahead and tell you that I did borrow some ideas from the internet, as we all do. I kind of wanted a springboard. So I went out there and I said, just typed in a search for, math ideas for Seesaw, and I found somebody who had like the top 3. So I just read them and said, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So I kind of just rewrote them myself, and I'm gonna share some examples of how I've used those. Show you some activities that I've used and what they mean, because the blurbs are short, so a little bit of explanation is definitely warranted. Okay, so the first one is talking about visualizing numeracy skills with drawings. I love all of the annotation tools there are for kids to use, whether you give them a worksheet template or you have them take a picture or what have you. You can use highlighters, you can use a pencil, a marker, a pen, you can add text boxes, you can do emojis, all kinds of things. So on the next slide, I have a couple of examples of things I've used in my class where there's a place value one showing that the kids can write them in all the different forms, including drawing a picture with what I like to call the French fries and the sugar cubes. They use those tools to draw. And then in the other one, it's the properties of multiplication. So they're showing arrays and grouping and the repeated addition strategy. So anytime, I think you can wiggle in getting to use emojis for the right purpose, they really love that. So that's that.
Stacy, have you ever used in the drawing tools in the shapes, that 3-dot menu in shapes, they have base 10 blocks in there?
Oh, cool. No, I wasn't aware.
I think it's a brand new feature. It's kind of a fun one.
Yeah, very cool. So the second one talks more about using the photo and the text box tools at the same time, which is a very cool feature. Like I said, I'm just absolutely loving that, because being far away from my students, I use this so often, not just for math, but for anything, because I can take a snapshot of my screen and then I can use the pen or pencil tool or the highlighter, and I can circle like, this is the button you click, or this is where you're going to find this thing, or this is the link to the assignment. And so those text feature or text tools and all those annotation things are just super cool. So for using them during math, we haven't gotten to geometry yet in 4th grade. It's coming. And I figured, this is a fun idea. This activity has nothing to do with it, but I just thought it had a good picture. This is an activity I sent to my kids that says, show me a picture of what your work area looks like. But I could easily go in and convert this activity to, trace all the rectangles, or trace all the circles, or find a right angle, or find line segments. You could have the kids using the highlighter or the pen or whatever to find geometric shapes and lines and angles in any kind of picture. So they could take a picture of something at their own house or their bedroom, and it would be a lot of fun, I think, have a little scavenger hunt kind of thing in their house. I actually used Helen's Zoom warm-up of the scavenger hunt, and my kids love it. So I'm trying to think of other things besides a color or the starting letter, so I asked them to find something spherical or round the other day. So you can kind of wiggle those math vocabulary terms in there that way. So that's another idea. This one I think Valerie's going to talk more about, so I'll just be brief. But they can always record something. One of my little girls has really taken a liking to the record button. I think she sent me about 8 videos yesterday or the day before. But it's great because they're learning these tools. And when they are able to talk about what they're doing, you get a whole another level of being able to check if they really understand things or not, because the way they explain just shines a lot more light on what's actually going on inside their mind rather than seeing a worksheet, because you don't know who helped them with that, or maybe even if somebody else did it with for them or with them. But if they're able to explain it in their own voice, then you can be a lot more sure that it's them understanding, not just getting it done. So this one, it was a activity that was already on Seesaw. You can't see it because it didn't save all the way, but this one had a video also, because it says, you can see the directions there, to write the fractions below each picture, then record yourself reading each fraction correctly. So that was nice, because some of the kids were saying 2/3, 2/4, 2/5, and other ones were saying 2/3, 2/4, and you could go back and add a comment and say, don't forget the bottom one is, you have to use that erd or the, and add those actual fraction names. So you can get a little bit deeper with that, with the voice recording. So that activity was neat, and I liked that it had the voice. And then my last idea that I actually took from Jeannie Lycia from the last TST that we did together was starting the blog, because I really didn't know what that entailed. But I was looking for a way, with using the home codes, they're blocked from seeing other people's work. So when I post things, if I post them I didn't want to send it to every single kid every time. So I put my math tutorials that I was recording from our Zoom sessions, I put them on the blog. And that way also I was able to give access to my partner teachers class, because I made it private so the world could just go in and watch me teach. But I put a password on it, which is really cool. And that was easy to do. I could pick my own. So I was able to, since I teach math to both 4th grade classes, I could send Susan, my partner, the web address to my blog and the password, and she could pass it on to her students so that they could watch the videos for review as well. So that was really nice, because if I just post it to my class, only my class could see it, and there wouldn't be a way to share it. Seesaw gives you up to 10 minutes of video time. So not 1 second more. I've tried. I'm getting really good at video editing. But yeah, you can post up to a 10-minute video on your blog, or maybe on Seesaw period. But the blog was just a really cool way to be able to share the video with my other class. So the first screenshot is, like I said, I annotate a lot to show my kids what to push, because if you see on, actually on both pictures, there's a little blue world button there, the blog button. And I think the kids are pushing that one, thinking that that's going to get them to the blog. And they need to push the one that's actually in like the choices on the right-hand side. So I keep telling them, no, push the pink one. Don't push the gray one that's with your journal. So I think they're still figuring that out. But it tells you how many visits you've had to your blog. So that's kind of interesting too, because, I probably tell them every day, go to the blog, watch the video again. And I can look and see that it's only been visited 14 times. So it's not happening yet, but I hope that it will. But I like that Seesaw blog, because I can share it with anybody that needs some extra tutorials. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Stacy. That was wonderful. We don't have any questions, but I will keep you posted.
All right. So our other sharer is Valerie Thorpe. Valerie's a 6th grade teacher at Green, who's got a few ideas to share with us.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here with you today. I really enjoy Seesaw, and it's been one of my go-tos for math during distance learning for students to share their learning and understanding of the activities we're doing. One of my favorite features is the voice recorded responses. So I typically, with almost every assignment I post, I will ask them or put the instructions for them to record their voice, explaining the steps of their work. And like Stacy said, it is so telling. It's sometimes I post activities that are more of investigations as we're introducing topics, maybe real life pictures of inequalities with guiding questions, and it's fun to hear students thinking on that. Other times I've posted an instructional video and I can listen to students explain it once it's their turn and see how they apply the academic vocabulary that I've modeled. And so I really love having the voice recorded responses in addition to their written work whenever they turn something in. One of the things I really miss is that academic discussion in class. I can't have them turn and talk to a partner, and at least this is one way that I have them still talking about math. It's also really helpful because sometimes they make a simple mistake in their work and I can look at the work that they've written and think that they missed the mark. But when I hear their explanation, I have a better understanding of what parts they understood, what parts they're missing, or maybe they completely understood it and it was just an error in what they wrote. And so I love that. And it's also fun for me to hear them because I miss hearing my students. And so I just love hearing their voices. So voice recorded responses, that's my favorite thing probably. The next thing I want to share is response templates. So usually when I was using Seesaw before, I rarely made templates. It was just kind of open. They would go in, have a blank canvas, upload what they were doing, write what they were doing. But for math, I've been using templates because I want to have it organized, and this is a way that I could present the problem. So when you're creating an activity, you just add a template for student response. I typically go through the drawing, but on the left-hand side there, you can see the different options you have. You can upload PDFs of worksheets or whatever you want to do. You can upload photos. I go through drawing because in drawing, I could still upload photos. It kind of takes you all to the same place in the end. But you can, I think it lets you put up to 9 photos. So sometimes I'll take a screenshot of maybe our online curriculum or a different problem I found, and I paste it in there, and that becomes a template. So when students respond, add a respond, they open up and they write right on top of that. So here you have a table and the graph that they work right on top of, and it keeps it nice and organized for them. And so I like doing that. On the next page, there's some other templates I had done. So the one on the left with the blue is a template I just created in Seesaw. We were working on inequalities, and so I gave them some real life examples of inequalities, and on the right were boxes for them to write their math sentence showing those inequalities. So I just created that in Seesaw by putting text boxes and arrows, shapes, and for them to write in and do that. And then on the right, you see one that's kind of a combination. I imported a picture or uploaded a picture of a graph, and then I made the table in Seesaw by creating a text box in horizontal and vertical lines. But I just like using templates because it makes it easy for me when I'm checking their work to see everything organized, but it also makes it convenient for students to have something to work on top of and to show their work. So I think templates are really helpful. And the last thing I want to talk about is attaching instructional videos. So Seesaw isn't my main platform. I do everything through Google Classroom. And then what my strategy was is I post any information, links, resources there, and then I give them the instruction and the link to come into Seesaw and do their assignment. So I was posting any instructional videos in Classroom and then sending them to Seesaw. But what I learned you can also do is post them in Seesaw. So I'm still posting them in Classroom, but I'm also putting them with the activity in Seesaw so that my students, if they need a review, they can click it right there. And I think they're more likely when it's easily accessible when they're trying to do the activity. And so you just, when you're creating an activity, you add multimedia instructions or examples, and then I just upload a video. You can also do a link to a video, but I had seen a posting Liz did. If you do the link, it opens it in a separate window. If you upload the video into Seesaw, it'll play it right there for them. And so I just upload because I think anything to make it convenient and avoid any technical glitches. But there's multiple ways to do that. I think Seesaw is really user-friendly. These are some of the things I do. And if you just get in there and start clicking around, you'll find, some of your own strategies and ways of going about it, and hopefully activities that you want to do.
Thank you, Valerie. There's no questions for you. They're in awe. All are in awe.
I'm sorry, I feel like I talk so fast, but
No, it's wonderful.
I love it. I love the idea of using that record feature. I think every teacher that's been having their students add that layer of recording has that, oh, now I see what they were thinking when they did that. Because sometimes we infer a lot.
mm-hmm.
And once students can actually explain, I bet everyone who's used it would say what a difference that's made. I remember Margaret Sofer had given an example in a reading example where looking at the paper, she thought one thing, and anyone would look at it and think the same thing. But once the student recorded, you're like, oh, now I see what their misconception was. So remembering that is such a good one. And then the blog also. I wanted to mention, when you turn on the blog, you have the option of allowing students to post to the blog. If you turn that off, they won't see that little blue world icon on their toolbar on the bottom. So you have control over that. That might help.
We've had 2 sessions this week on using Seesaw to teach math. And I really believe after seeing both of them that no matter what grade level you teach, I think both of them would be very beneficial. So Liz, do you think you could go and show everybody how to find the recordings on Mission Control?
Yes. I am familiar with how to do that.
Because that way, if you didn't see yesterday's, which was advertised for primary grades, but I really, after watching it, I think an 8th grade teacher to TK would benefit from watching both of these.
Yeah, the strategies are good. So it's bit.ly/HESD mission 20, right? HESD for our district, mission for mission control, 20 for the year. And when you go there, it'll take you to the mission control site. And when you're in the mission control site, there's all kinds of stuff here. This button will actually take you straight to the blast off section. The other thing you can do is come up here and go to PD for DL. So when you click on PD for DL, all of the videos are right here. I'm going to give it a second. There, I don't know. What do you think we have? 30 sessions that we've done now?
It's been a marathon.
Oh my goodness. So for every section, I'll come down to Seesaw and let that load up. The video is here of the session and then the Google Slides. The other thing that I've added up here, we know in pre-flight information, this was before we even started, I just put together some resources of how to do stuff, but I also added the icon shortcuts for creating activities. So when you click there, it's going to open a PDF. These are all the shortcuts you can type in, and you can print this so that you have it. If you want the camera button, type : photo : when you're creating an activity. So all these shortcuts are right here. When you want the add response, that's how when you're creating activities. But also, these were the initial how-to sessions, and then all the collaboramas we've been doing. The initial TK2 and 3rd, Margaret and Christy did one for reading instruction, idea sharing. This video I'll have up later today, but this is yesterday's. Okay, the slides are ready, and the icon shortcuts are right here also. And then this is today's, where I'll put the video and the slides. Okay, so everything's right here for you. And then we've got our Flipgrid resources, Screencastify if you want a refresher. If you haven't used Screencastify, go here. Google Meet, Desmos Math. If you haven't used Desmos Math before, that's here. Nearpod, Kahoot is this Friday, which is tomorrow, it turns out. That'll be there. Social and emotional learning, those have been fantastic sessions with Dave Castellano and his team. This one, the counselors showing some of the resources they have, and this one is Marita, Caitlin, and Atenea showed some of the ways they're using social and emotional learning in their plans. Again, the slides are here if you're wanting to flip through the slides quickly. And then at the very bottom, I did a thing last week with all kinds of information about how to do things in Google Slides. And then this is a video that was in the tech newsletter about using Google Sheets for the participation marks and how to use that Google Sheet, because some people aren't super familiar with spreadsheets, and I think they're pretty awesome. So those are—
I'm going to make a plug for next week. last week, you got to watch, if you watch any of them, the Google slides from last week was magical. But next week,
Are you
Liz,
saying it's magical because I used the unicorn template? Because that was the best
by
part.
request. But next week, Liz is going to be presenting with a group of teachers on choice boards, which really looking at how schooling is going to at least start out next school year. I highly recommend checking out next Tuesday's choice boards collaborama and workshops.
We're also going to be looking at how a few teachers have been typing up their week plan into a Google Doc or Google Slides to have that be organized in an engaging way, in addition to the choice boards.
Thank you, Liz. You're the best.
All right, there we go.
Presenters. Yay.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you to our presenters today.
Valerie and Stacy, thank you so much for sharing what you're doing. I know we could go on and on and on about all the great things you guys are doing in your classroom. I appreciate you sharing some ideas. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.